G'day all, welcome back to the G-Man Show. I'm your host, G-Man. Thank you for joining me back on the internet today. Now we've got a multi-segment show for you today. We're going to start off with me having a rant about the Victorian government and education system focusing on gender bender programs for little kids as young as 5. Then we're going to talk about the benefits of being a homeowner versus being a renter in Australia, which one wins out. And then I'm just going to have a last final rant about people taking personal loans to do absolutely stupid things with, in my opinion. Let's jump in.
Shocked many parents today. And even more shocking was the Victorian Premier Jacinta Allen's response to it. That the Victorian curriculum has been updated to teach children as young as 5 that their body parts may not match their gender.
That is programming. I have a really big problem with this. I have no issue with people who are adults making their own decisions on whatever they want to do with their own bodies, their own lives. Do whatever you want. Sleep with whoever you want. Live your life however you want to live it. It does not affect me in any way. Kids in schools, keep your hands off them. This government, these leftist, activist, radical, gender-bending teachers in the education system trying to create and cultivate more transgendered kids, more kids that are confused with if they like boys or girls, and they're being taught this stuff, and it's being put into their brains as young as 5 years old at school. Oh, don't be bigoted, G-man. This is the new world we live in. Kids need to be learned about progressiveness. Leave the kids alone. The kids should be watching Blue's Clues, Peppa Pig, not worrying about if they want to be a boy or a girl or not because the teacher at school said it was okay if the boy wants to chop his bits off and become a girl, or if a girl wants to go and she wants to go on hormone treatment and become a boy and have her bits cut off and mutilated. Oh, you're taking it a bit too far with that, Gina. No, I'm not. I remember a time, and I'm not that old, I'm middle-aged. I remember a time where you would say these things. If this was even discussed at a school, you'd put in a mental institution. What's happened to this country? What is happening in our education system? You call me a tinfoil hatter. Say, G-man, you're smoking off the glass Barbie again. You're high, you cooker. Well, what else could this be apart from a deliberate attack on the next generation? Destroying masculinity in the country, ruining the social unit, the nuclear family in the country and society. Because you get a few nutters in power. Disgusting.
And that biologically male students who identify as female can play sport on girls' teams. This was a big exclusive by Rachel Baxendale in The Australian today, and she reports that the curriculum also seeks to educate the 5 and 6-year-old students about the notion of being transgender.
That, in my mind, once again, that's egregious. That is a failure of duty of care to these children who are put under the care of the state in these public-run schools. You're going to have a Catholic school is going to have this put in it? I don't think so. You're going to have this in private boys and girls schools? No, you're not. Government-run, brainwashing institutions run by a pack of wackos.
By telling them that some people feel they did not get a good match for their body parts and they do not want to be called a boy or a girl, but rather something that is right for them.
Put them in a mental home.
Extraordinary. Now, here's part of what's actually in the curriculum.
Part of the curriculum on the notion of being transgender says some people feel they did not get a good match for their body parts and they do not want to be called a boy or a girl, but rather something that is right for them. It also involves a case study on a transgender girl. They are advised to tell the other students, yes, I can play with the girls' team because I am a girl, or...
If I was a kid, it's the thing that kids get brainwashed or they get influenced heavily by what other people are doing. They want attention. They want to stand out. If I could have been morphed into a cat or a squid or an octopus or a dog when I was 5 years old, I probably would have done it if it was taught in school. You're a dog if you want to be a dog, young G-man. I'm like, yeah, I'm a dog. It's incredible. And then there's pushback on it, but the people are concerned. Oh.
Or go and ask the teacher if you don't believe me. Our teacher says I belong in the girls' team.
Now, it's
Go down to whatever school that is with a jerry can. I'm not going to say anything else.
one thing to be respectful to children and teenagers who are struggling, but it's quite another for a school to deliberately tell young children that they can choose their own gender, to introduce them to the idea of gender fluidity without parental permission before they can even properly read, write, or do arithmetic. You'd think the majority of parents would be highly uncomfortable about this. And the Australian reports that there have been examples of young people who have been socially transitioned at school without even their parents' knowledge or consent. Now, we protect 5-year-olds rightly from so much in life at this young age, yet apparently the Victorian Premier thinks it's perfectly acceptable that they should be taught about changing genders.
Kick him out of office. You know, this state, I've been ranting about it lately. I've been going on some seriously heated rants about Victoria. Victoria is the woke capital of Australia. We have a woke and communist socialist government who have, if you stand back and look at all the things they're doing, they are wrecking this country. They are wrecking this. The state is gone. The state is wrecked. If you want to have someone in a leadership position saying that it's okay to defile the minds of children as young as 5 years old when they're supposed to be protected and under care of teachers without parents knowing, and that's okay, says all you need to say.
And here she was, angrily defending this program during a feisty exchange with journalists today.
There's some reports out today just about some of the pages going to...
Is that Dan Andrews in a wig? Seriously?
What teachers are being taught to teach children about transgender and non-binary peers. Do you think that 5-year-olds...
She's transgendered.
I'd back the Respect for Relationships program and the curriculum that is all about protecting kids, strengthening resilience of kids.
There are some parents of children who do identify as transgender or non-binary that feel like there's a school to clinic pipeline. What would you say to those?
Look at the anger on her. Look at that Karen. Look at the rage. Typical leftist. And once again, guys, I fall on no political allegiance, but a typical left, if you don't agree, if you question anything that these people push, rage. You can see the rage. You can hear her seething. Maybe the microphone was a bit too close. You could hear the snarling. This is who's running our state. Have a look at him.
Just nonsense. It's disgraceful nonsense. Like, seriously.
You're a disgrace.
This sort of ongoing attack on a program that is making a difference in kids' lives
it's wrecking their lives.
Should be stopped. It should be stopped. It's disgraceful reporting. It's hurtful.
Yeah, you're not hurting the future of kids. You're not taking away agency from parents, guiding their children the best they can through life. No, it's hurtful because the teachers can't. Someone's questioning a teacher telling someone's kid that they're not a boy or a girl, they're the opposite, and that's okay. And encouraging it. Nah.
So she attacks the media instead of properly defending or even answering why children as young as 5 are being taught this. Now, this is a highly controversial subject area, and I accept there's debate about this. But surely what we can agree on is to keep this controversial ideology out of the classroom, particularly at such a young age. It's horrifying to think of what is being taught to 5- and 6-year-olds in Victoria in the supposed safety of the schoolroom. Children at that age are so vulnerable and impressionable that Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy are still exciting and believable, and many even have very real magical powers. I'm careful what I say in case there are children watching. And at this tender age of such impressionability, they should not be taught highly controversial and potentially problematic ideology that they can switch genders if they choose. And if this isn't a reason for Victorians to throw out Premier Jacinta Allen and Labor at the next election, then I just don't know what is.
Shazza, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I don't always agree with things in the media or Sky, or it doesn't matter, ABC or SBS. I talk about all of them. Everyone's got their agenda. But Shazzy, all right, we're aligned on this topic. Chuck them out. And can we just get some sensical people in, normal humans, normal Australian people to run this bloody state? Please. Joint's completely cooked. All right, halfway through, if you're enjoying the content, consider subscribing to the channel. I appreciate it very much. And if you want to help me out, guys, like, comment, share, all that sort of stuff. It does help me. I don't like asking, but it does. So clicking a few buttons does help the channel grow. All right. Now we're going to talk about this. It's an ABC story. Homeowner versus renter. Who wins in the end? As I said, I'm going to play it. I'm going to rant. I'm going to carry on.
Two 25-year-olds, both hardworking but facing two potentially very different financial futures. One is a homeowner.
I was fortunate enough to have a family who was willing to let me stay at home.
He's like 25. He looks older than me. It's rough, and I'm not trying to judge people's appearances, but this bloke, I don't know if it's the beard or what, but he's looking older than me, and I'm 40.
Eventually, until I saved up a deposit. The second thing is that at the time I was able to take advantage of the government scheme.
The other, a renter.
I've tried to make smart.
You're going to love that. The renter's the bogan bum. He's got his PlayStation. He's got his TV on. No, he's got nothing going for him. They had the homeowner. He had his suit on. For some reason, he's sitting in his house. It's ABC, right? He's sitting there. So they've set this up. He's sitting there with his suit on and his hair nicely done, and he's a professional man because he owns a home. And you loser, bogan, good-for-nothing, slacking pieces of crap with no responsible genes in your body, you're renters.
Smart decisions. I went and got a degree. I got a job in a niche field within my degree, one that pays well, and I'm still unsure whether or not I'll be able to save enough to get a home in a reasonable time frame or at all.
New research reveals
You don't need new research to reveal that pricing affordability is absolutely effed. Now, I would dare say a lot of people, if you're 25 and you're getting into the property market, either you've done very, very well because there isn't much of a work history for a lot of these people unless you're a tradie, and you've dropped out of school at your 14 years old and done a trade and earned good money for a good number of years as a fully licensed tradie. How's a office guy dropping out of going to uni and getting out of uni at 21 at the earliest, in 4 years saving up enough for a property in Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, anywhere, any major city? How are you doing that in 3 years? I call BS. I call help, family help. I do feel bad for young people. It gets worse as time goes on. Especially now we've got, and I'm going to rant, I'm going to go off the rails today. Everything's coming out. Immigration, I'm going to rant about that. You go, how does immigration weigh on that again? You're racist. You're bogan. You're bogan Aussie. I'll tell you. More people coming in, and a lot of these people think they're all Uber Eats drivers and taxi drivers and shit like that. Regardless of that, they still need somewhere to live. But you have a lot of ambitious people coming in. When I say ambitious, those who might have white-collar doctors, lawyers, accounting and finance people, they can earn good money, really good money. Number one, taking Australian jobs here. Number two, they're competing for the stock. And as every day goes on, that quantum between supply and demand keeps growing. And we're throwing all these people on top of that fire, or these immigrants. I've got nothing against people wanting a better life and coming to Australia. I don't blame them. I actually feel bad for them. Biggest scam ever. They go and pay all these visas and jump through all the 100 hoops they got to jump through to get here, and they come to this joint that's on fire. So these two young guys with vastly different stories, I'm going to give you my opinion on it. So the guy who's renting, if he can save and potentially give up right now on the idea of the deposit and put money into other investments, such as an ETF, which are boring, but something like that is going to, in general, outpace the growth of inflation and a return on top over a long period of time, the impacts of compounding interest will probably see him in a good position many years down the line. And most people won't do that. It's boring. It's discipline for a long period of time. So a young bloke like him will probably give up, start hitting the piss, just buying stuff, new TVs, PlayStation games and shit like that. Then I've got this other thing. Why do people, I'm going to say kids, people in their 20s, okay, adults in their 20s, I'm going to say kids because they look like kids to me. Why are they struggling at the moment as well? We've got a degree factory in this country. And a lot of people go there and buy these degrees that don't lead to any jobs. You buy a piece of paper. They should only have degrees for roles that are very important to society, not bloody archaeology and transgender studies in Thailand or whatever it is that people do specialist and masters and PhDs in, and they end up can't getting a job. The only job is academic jobs, and that's another topic. I won't even start on that. I won't segue into that, but all the university jobs are getting absolutely slashed because international students are being capped, apparently, and that has stopped the gravy train. So there's a lot of redundancies and cost cutting going on. So people get these degrees, complete waste of money and time. They look good. They've got a good name. You might have learned something and studied something that you wanted to learn about that you thought was important to you. It doesn't translate into a job or a well-paying job, a job that's going to have to pay you at least 6 figures over a few years and have increasing chances to up that salary. Otherwise, you're not buying a house in a major city. And you end up with a HECS debt or personal loan or however you funded that.
The stark inequality between those who don't own their homes and those that do. And
the inequality, and I must look, I'll let it play in a minute. I'm not just replaying ABC. So what are the benefits for a renter? Generally, it's short term. Probably over the first 10 to 15 years, renting is probably a smarter idea if you to do an actual just purely numbers game. So renters, yes, your rent is expected to go up, but all the other costs of holding a property you don't have to worry about or have. You know, maintenance and insurances and all that sort of stuff. You're not at the mercy of interest rates at the bank and all of that. But over time, if you own a property, say after 15 years and it's really tough, you can start sort of paying it down relevant to what you earn. And you do get, the maintenance is lumpy and all that sort of stuff. But eventually it's going to get to a point where paying your mortgage down, if you're really aggressively attacking it, will be a lot cheaper than renting because rent always goes up. The other thing is security. When you're an older person and you're unable to earn money anymore or work or you have a health issue, you're going to find yourself homeless because the rent still needs to get paid. As if you own your home, you probably can survive as a pensioner. It might be a frugal existence, a meager existence, but you can survive. You're trying to pay rent, even if you get a study and rent allowance and all that, rent allowance and all that on top of a pensioner payment and whatever superannuation annuity you might have. It's going to be really hard. You're going to live a very, very shit life, full of stress.
And our favourable tax system is to blame.
The amount of privilege that homeowners are given in the tax and transfer system is really quite extraordinary.
For the first time, economists have measured not just people's wages and welfare payments when looking at income inequality, but also the untaxed income they get from their homes.
There's 2 ways you get effective income from your own home. The first is you effectively pay yourself rent. The second component is the capital gain, particularly in Australia where we've had quite...
How do you pay yourself rent? You're paying the bank interest and paying back the principal that you borrowed. So what's this bizarre paying? So the house just pays itself or something? How does that work? I don't get that. And then, you get a capital gain. The capital gain isn't an annuity that goes into your bank. You got to sell the bloody thing. And guess what? Then you're stuck in the same market as everyone else. I'm going to give you a controversial opinion. I've said this to people before, and they look at me like I've got two heads. Owning your primary place of residence is not, I repeat, is not an investment. It is a cost. It is a sunk cost. Why is it a sunk cost? Because, as I said, your property value is pegged to the market. So any sort of gains you're getting, those are sunk gains. Those are paper gains, because that's going to transfer across to the next inflated property if you want to buy, unless you are downsizing. I don't know this paying yourself. I don't understand that logic, paying yourself rent. But a property is a cost. You live in it, it's a cost. Maintenance is a cost. None of that's tax deductible. The only thing that you get off if you sell is the capital gains tax exemption because you live in it. Now, they'll come for that at some point, and property owners will, when I say property owners, people who just own their house they live in, will soon be paying unrealised gains tax and all sorts of shit. You can see the writing on the wall.
Substantial capital gains on property, certainly over the last 30 years.
The research from UTS and Melbourne University found that while the average disposable income of outright homeowners is 34% higher than renters, when housing is counted, that income gap widens to 86%. Including that, Australia rises to become the 10th most unequal country in the OECD.
Owner-occupied housing is, in a sense, like the elephant in the room.
Our tax and transfer system looks a lot less progressive than if you are only looking at cash incomes.
The economists argue exempting the family home from the capital gains tax costs the budget $50 billion a year, discourages more productive forms of investment, pushes up home values and locks young people out of the property market. To make the system fairer, they're calling for a tax on land, wealth or the family home.
Yep. My judgment is that probably none of the options that we canvass in our article are politically palatable.
There are obviously areas that no sensible government would go near, and that's one of them.
Indeed, it's an idea this young homeowner doesn't support.
Why is he there? Why is he there in his suit and tie making a cake? It's weird. I don't walk around the house with a tie on and shirt.
Already kind of pay an owner-occupier tax in the form of...
He's a businessman because he owns a house, guys. He's a businessman. He's the devil. And the rent is he's just a lowlife because he wears skatey clothes. And he's not responsible because he's not wearing a suit and tie.
Rates, to have rates and a tax, it just kind of...
How are you affording to bake, dude, when you got to pay all the bloody taxes and maintenance and insurance on your house? It's the biggest scam ever. Whether you rent or buy, the government and all the large companies have their hand in your pocket until the day you die. Believe you me.
Feels redundant.
This renter agrees. He says instead investors should pay more.
I don't know many people my age who own homes, but I can think of a lot of people who are maybe double my age or so that own multiple homes and they don't need them.
The report's authors think there might be a way to win those young Australians.
Yeah, I get that, but also, and this will get me flamed, I know, in the comments because people hate it when I talk common sense. They are providing a rental for someone who may not be in a position to buy or want to buy for that matter. Not everyone wants to buy. Some people like the flexibility of renting. So hear me out on that. They're not living in two houses at once or leaving them all vacant.
It's over.
You may get a different response if they could see and be confident that income tax cuts would be accompanying the introduction of taxes on housing wealth in some form.
A simple...
Never cut an income tax. You're dreaming, buddy. Dreaming. You watch what happens when they start really going for property investors, and I'm not talking Murdoch and Harry Triggerbuff and all those people, Gina bloody Reinhardt and Clive Palmer. I'm talking about someone. There's a lot of people out there that have one investment property. They're not rich. They're probably battling to hold the bloody thing. You watch what happens when they really start going after those people even more, because the government has outsourced the responsibility to the private sector, i.e. everyday Australians, to provide housing to people who can't afford to buy a house. And that's not an insult, it's the truth. Or who don't want to buy a house. What happens, it's not going to be a one-for-one. So if they sell that house, then someone who really wanted a house can buy that. All it does is it gives more incentive for large-scale property investors to buy the house, like what's happening in America, like BlackRock and all that. So it goes from the local mum and dad, I know people hate that, but mum and dad investor, which it is, to the big corporations who can absorb all this shit. And you probably get generous tax breaks.
But far from easy fix to boost home ownership.
And one last quick rant. It's only going to be a really quick one today. Stupid article I came across. Everyone's complaining how hard life is, and it is a genuine gripe. But one thing that pisses me off is people digging themselves in even deeper holes than they should be in. I just want to go and borrow money to go on a bloody holiday. A holiday. Something that is not even tangible. I don't care about memories. You don't go into debt for a bloody memory, and to bleach your rectum, sunbaking your gooch on a Thailand beach.
500,000 Australians jet off to Europe every winter to escape to some warmer weather, but new research has revealed just how many are funding those trips with personal loans. For more on this, Rebecca Pike from Find a Money Expert joins me now. Hi, Rebecca. Thanks so much for your time. How many Australians are doing this?
Yeah, so according to a survey that we ran last month, about 1 in 5 Australians have used a personal loan to take a holiday.
All right, so as well as holidays, are we using personal loans for other things as well?
Yeah, about the same number of people are using personal loans to fund medical expenses, which is kind of a sad and troubling statistic, but also people are using personal loans for home renovations, car purchases, debt consolidation, and about 4%, concerningly, are using personal loans to help out family and friends.
I guess it helps.
I mean, the last one's probably noble, and you can understand why people do the other things, especially if you really need medical help and attention. Okay, I get it. I'm not going to bag people out for that. Why we pay Medicare your whole life? Don't get me started on that. We pay Medicare, but certain things are not covered in the public system, and you need to go private. Private health insurance, if you even have the private, this is the biggest scam of all time. I don't care what anyone says, unless you buy the bells and whistles one. If you get the base one just to avoid paying the extra Medicare levy, surcharge, whatever it is, nothing's covered anyway. So you're just donating money to a private health fund, insurer. You're not going to get anything out of it. You're hoping to reduce your taxation bill. Biggest scam of all effing time. Get stuffed. So people pay Medicare. Why isn't there enough money around? Because not all the money from the Medicare surcharge levy, I reckon, goes into the public system. I don't care what anyone says. Or from smokes. What's happening? Why aren't people being looked after? Why are they going to crippling debt? Are we living in America now, who doesn't have the amount of tax that we do?
In the short term, what are the long-term impacts of going for that option?
Yeah, so although it might seem like a really good idea something really exciting to use a loan to go on your holiday, you are left with these repayments for a long time. Personal loan terms can go up to about 7 years, and so it's fun for those few weeks that you're on holiday. You're left with those repayments, high interest, high fees in some cases, and you may also find that your credit score is impacted, which can...
The way that people find this out after the fact goes to show you how bad our education system is, and it encourages stupidity. You should know this when you're 10 years old at school. Do not borrow money. Do not take out personal loans for dumb shit like a holiday. And I'll dare say cars. I'm probably due for another car rant. It's probably going to happen again soon. Borrowing money for expensive cars. Get stuffed. Anyway, that's it. I'm done. I'm all ranted out. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.